101.5 FM proudly presents The Community Kitchen with Annette Long.
And welcome to Community Kitchen. We've got a great day today. As I've mentioned a few weeks earlier, we're looking at all the different things we're going to be doing at Farm Fantastic at the Food for Thought tent. And I have Grumpy's Ginger Beer. I'll be talking to them a little bit later this morning. Ginger beer is one of those things you forget about how beautiful it is, and apparently I yet to taste, but I look forward to that at Farm. Their ginger beer is just like Grandma used to make, and it's one of those things, isn't it, that you just love in the summertime when it's a beautiful hot day and you can have ginger beer. I know people who drink rum sometimes like ginger beer with that, so we're going to be talking to Steve a little bit later. And I think he's got a few surprises up his sleeve. They do a chili ginger beer, so we'll be talking about that. And fishing. I thought we'll talk to Nigel this morning from Gateway Boat and Tackle. Someone delivered to our house just recently some beautiful fish that they'd caught in the afternoon. And I thought, sometimes we forget about the pantry we have out in the ocean. And Nigel's going to be talking to us what's happening, because winter time, you get that beautiful whiting, tailor and snapper, and I think he's going to introduce to us some little cooking ideas too, because whilst fish is beautiful fresh, the guys who catch it really seem to know exactly what they're talking about. I think we might go to our song, and then we're going to come back and we'll be talking to Steve from Grumpy's Ginger Beer.
You're listening to Our Community Kitchen with Annette Long.
Welcome to the show, Steve. We're talking to Steve from Grumpy's Ginger Beer. How are you this morning?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I think we had just a little bit of a cut out there at the start.
We did. It made me a little bit nervous to start off with.
Yes. Grumpy's Ginger Beer, I've been having a little bit of a look on the internet, which I always do, and your Facebook is showing some fantastic things. You're a very busy little company.
Thank you. Yeah, we are very busy. We tend to... we make all the product ourselves and bottle it, and we use the best ingredients. But marketing is obviously a huge thing in getting a good product out so people can find it. And Facebook, it's worked extremely well for us.
So how did this all begin? Why would you pick ginger beer? Do you just love it?
We do love it, but also my partner's dad was a great ginger beer maker in Western Australia, and he had this really good recipe, and apparently every Saturday afternoon, people would come and gather and test the ginger beer, and we get lots and lots of stories of people that grew up with that brewing of ginger beer, all the stories of explosions, and it's just a great story, and we love that part of what we're doing.
Well, I must say it brought back memories for me, because when I was first married in the mid-70s, we used to make ginger beer every weekend, because we lived on the property, and it was just so nice when you'd come in from working to have homemade ginger beer.
Yeah, it's so true, and it's very refreshing. It's natural, and when you look back at the actual start of ginger beer making, it was because they didn't have clean water, so they needed to purify the water with a process, and they used things like ginger and the brewing process, just to basically give themselves something to drink as well.
Oh,
That's
I
really
didn't know that. Oh.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
So that was like a purifier for the water?
That's right, yes.
Well, a lot of times, I've been talking to different bakers over time, and they talk about, their sourdough starters going down through generations. I guess the ginger beer plant is about exactly the same, isn't it?
It is. As I say, everybody has a memory or a story about it. It's actually quite a powerful mechanism when the plant, the yeast, is mixed with the sugar. It's just fascinating to watch things grow and change. We actually make it in a slightly different process where we don't use a plant, but it's cooked. So it's fascinating as well. It's that brewing process.
Now, you're going to be joining us at Farm Fantastic this year, which is really exciting, because you have ginger beer, plus you also have a chili ginger beer.
We do. We do a chili. Chili's an amazing enhancer. It's a flavour enhancer, so it brings out that ginger and the other flavours really nicely. Great for the cooler weather as well. And it's got a lot of health benefits as well. So we're really priding ourselves in a really good chili ginger beer.
I think it's fantastic. Well, when you look at different recipes, I mean, people in different countries, they use chocolate to enhance their meat recipes. They use all different things that we always associate with, chocolate being a sweet.
Yes.
You associate chili just being with a meal. But when you think of it as a drink, I mean, I've seen chili cocktails that,
Yes.
and I guess that's probably where you got the idea is just putting that little bit of fire in the drink.
That's right. It really livens it up, makes it really exciting. There are a couple of, for this weekend we're doing a festival and we're doing a double one, so it's going to be twice as hot. But but you can warm the ginger beer up as well. We've done a mulled ginger beer where you just bring the ginger beer to just simmer it, and we added things like cinnamon sticks, star anise, some orange, some lemon. And to serve it as a warm drink is just beautiful as well.
Actually, I did see that on Facebook.
Yummy.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
And one thing, I was talking to your partner the other day, and, we're talking about getting ready for our cooking, and I said to her,
Yes.
Wouldn't it be beautiful to use the ginger beer with the chili in a batter for prawns or something like that?
Yeah, you just replace anything with the liquid. With the ginger beer, you can easily add that, and it brings that element of flavour. But it's a lot of fun just with flavours, and we're becoming so much more open, I suppose, to exploring these different avenues. In summertime, we do a blueberry ginger beer, so we use local berries and infuse that into the ginger beer. So it's really exciting, and we're having a lot of fun with it.
So how long have you been going for?
We've been going full on for 6 months, and in the 6 months we've basically produced about 30,000 bottles, and we're just a very small manufacturer. We bottle it all ourselves, and it's just going to markets and events, and that's why we're so looking forward to being in Queensland to Farm Fantastic, because they're just such good fun events to be at. Great people. People enjoy what we do as well.
So you travel a fair bit because you're based at Coffs Harbour?
We do travel a lot, but it's a case of getting the product to where people are really looking forward to some good quality products, I suppose. And yes, you do have to travel for that, but we enjoy that side of it as well.
I think that's the beautiful thing about it. You do get around to different markets, and it gives people with a little business the opportunity to take something they're so passionate about out to people. Yes. And if it goes from there, it's amazing, isn't it? But it does actually. You can start small when you're taking to markets, which is great.
It is, and it's a way to trial a product, to get it out, and it's certainly a great way to be in front of people to get that public exposure. These sort of events like Farm Fantastic, to be involved with that. But so much work and energy goes into running those events that you can actually sort of nearly piggyback on the back of what they do as well, which is fantastic. It's good fun.
So tell me now, with your ginger, would you be buying that, like you just source that from different farms and things like that?
We do. With all our products, we try to be as local or regional or as we can. We do source it from local growers. And it is fresh. We try to keep it fresh. We grate it fresh, and then it gets infused. But as we grow, we look for more suppliers as well. So it helps. As we get the product out and about, we look for more products all the time.
I think people can sometimes be really scared about chili. I know there's a guy up there near Noosa somewhere who has this amazing chili farm and all different levels of chili. And a lot of people, as soon as you mention the word chili, they have a little bit of a freak out because they think it's too hot.
They do, exactly. But once they try that, they actually prefer the chili, what we call the chili, which isn't very hot at all. What it does, it warms the back of your throat a little bit, gives you that bit of excitement, and enhances that ginger. So it's very much more of a flavour enhancer. So, but it can give people a little bit of a step back but then they step forward into it.
I think it's great. And so really your Grumpy's Ginger Beer is really available just at the marketplace at the moment?
At this stage, yes, until we grow to the next level, really just available at these events. But keep a track on us on Facebook. As we say, that's worked extremely well. People can see what we're doing, where we'll be. And if they'd like to order, we do send the occasional order out. So we're sort of coming to terms with dealing with, with working that out as well, which is good.
It's amazing, isn't it? A little while ago I interviewed a woman up at Blackbutt, which is in the ranges west of Caboolture, and she was milking camels.
Wow.
Which, when you look at it, you just think, who on earth is what's happening here? And then I spoke to her a little while ago, and she's actually opened a dairy now, because it just grew to the stage that so many people apparently have different allergies that she's all of a sudden had to go to the dairy stage. So it's interesting how these little home industries, as you could call them, develop into amazing businesses.
They can do, and I think with social media or building your customer base, that's the way they will grow as well. I think it's a great medium to use. But again, going to markets, being passionate, and I think people that are passionate about what they do is a little contagious.
I think
milking camels is fantastic, and obviously she's got a passion for that. And people will follow that, yeah. I
think it's absolutely incredible. So we're going to be, hopefully we're going to have some great cooking events up there, because we want to try and incorporate, when we're doing our cooking, we're going to incorporate your Grumpy's Ginger Beer into our food fest, and we'll look forward to that.
That'll be so much fun. We're really looking forward to it, cooking with ginger beer and all the other products that are there as well. It's going to be good.
Excellent. We'll need that. We'll look forward to seeing you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Thanks for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure.
And we're talking to Steve from Grumpy's Ginger Beer, and he's going to have a market stall at Farm Fantastic this year at the Food for Thought tent. And as I said, it makes you start thinking when you hear about little things like ginger beer. But ginger beer plus chilies, and my mind immediately went to this great batter that you could make, where you could put some beautiful prawns in there, and who knows what we're going to come up with at the Food for Thought tent. I think we might go to our sponsors. Back shortly. Welcome back. Speaking of our upcoming event, I get sort of a little bit of adrenaline about it. We've got 3 days of cooking going on, and I must say it's wonderful to think that our community kitchen, which started sort of 6-7 years ago, has sort of taken off, and now we're presenting to apparently 35,000 in 3 days goes to farm. But the whole thing is, which I feel very passionate about, is the fact that we're putting ideas out there in our Food for Thought tent. We hope that it sort of opens people's eyes and opens their thoughts to getting back in the kitchen. Which brings me to something. I was listening to a radio station the other day, and they were having a debate about supermarkets, which seems to be happening all the time at the moment, and we try not to be political here at all on this show. But it was just one little feature that I thought, now having a debate about butchers and about meat. And there was this whole big discussion about the fact that, they only sort of seem to talk about the supermarket butchers. But I found this fantastic article in a book, and I'm just going to read a little bit to you. It's from Arabella Forge, and she has a book called The Frugivore. And frugal is one of those things that she thinks is very important, and her book is based on how to grow your own, buy local, waste nothing, and eat well. And she writes for some fantastic magazines. She is a guest speaker at Slow Food Forums. I know that she's done some wonderful things for some great foodie mags. But the interesting thing is, and one article that she put in her book was, good butchering is a highly specialised artisan craft. Traditionally, it took years of training, and butchers were respected pillars of the small communities. A good butcher will have a clear understanding of where his meat comes from, and will cut, carve and age his meat on site at the back of his shop. Unfortunately, she says, there aren't many good butchers left. They've been replaced by meat carvers. And this is interesting. who lacked the intimate knowledge required to choose the best quality meat and prepare it to its full potential. The blame for this lies with consumers, who increasingly seem to want only certain easy cuts of meat, racks of lamb, loin chops, beef steaks and chicken breasts. And she talks about how we've forgotten how to cook many of the more economical cuts. And I won't go into all the things she talks about, but she was saying that 50 years ago housewives sought out these cuts and nothing went to waste. Also very fussy about the quality of what they purchased. And I think that's an incredible thing that she talks about because, you know, a lot of the times, and we've talked about different things, a lot of packaged meats and things like that, you can go to your different shopping venues and find that. But isn't it amazing when you do find that great baker, that great fruit shop and that great butcher and the fishmonger, that you can talk about what's local, what's happening, what's seasonal. If you're a little bit short of money, your butcher can advise you, your fruiterer can advise you what's specials, what's in season, of course, brings the prices down. And I think it's one of those things that really is coming back into the kitchen, because a lot of people are finding that by buying the expensive cuts and the packaged meats and going to your meat carvers, it doesn't allow you to get the knowledge from your butcher or from your fruit shop or from your fishmonger or from your baker about what's going on. And I think these things of the old arts, what a sad thing when we've lost these from our communities, because I think it's just wonderful when you can, go in and ask advice from whoever it is. And I know that in my fruit shop, my local fruit shop, you can go in there when the seasons are right, and they've got abundance of different fruits, and they're local. How fantastic is that? And they know where they're coming from. And getting back to our butchers, exactly the same. A little bit later in the show, we're going to be talking to Nigel from Gateway Boat and Tackle about our fish out in the ocean. We're not using these things anymore. It seems to be that whilst we are busy and whilst everybody seems to have, dual working couples in their family, in many ways, it doesn't have to take away from the quality of the food. And I'm sure that if you follow those practices, you will find that you can cut down your food bills just by being a little bit more conscious. And thinking of that, interesting, last night I decided that we'd have a roast. And there's only two of us. And sometimes, of course, it's great to have leftover meat. But I went into the butcher the other day and they had little lamb rumps there. A rump on a lamb, I can tell you, is not that big. And while I was there, one of the customers said to me, I was reading it, and one of the customers in the shop said, "Oh, I buy those all the time. They're just fantastic because it's such a quick little roast." So I got home a little bit later yesterday afternoon. I was out busy doing things, put some vegetables into the oven, marinate the little lamb rump in some olive oil and some garlic and some cracked pepper, some rosemary out of the garden, and I had a bit of time, threw that in there, let the vegetables cook for a while. Now the rumps in reality were probably about a small bread and butter plate size, maybe even a bit under that, and there were two of them. Placed them in there. It took absolutely no time at all to cook these, probably about 15 minutes, with a little bit of resting by the time you've got your greens done. And seriously, that was a roast, and it was just delicious. Enough for maybe a couple of sandwiches today. I thought, a roast doesn't have to be one of those long cook things. Have a look around. Go in there and talk to your butchers, because you'll be really surprised as to what you can buy. And I love it when you have someone who, you'll be in a shop and they'll say, "You should try that, I've done that." And I think that just enhances your shopping, whereas very rarely do you actually communicate when you're in the huge big supermarkets, because everyone's on a mission. But when you get in those more intimate shops, it's amazing what you'll find. I think it's fantastic. I just thought I'd share that with you. We're going to go to a song, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Nigel about fish. And welcome back to Community Kitchen. We have our next guest online, Nigel from Gateway Boat and Tackle at Ningi. Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. A bit chilly, but I'm fine.
Apparently we were supposed to have incredible winds and rain and everything.
it's definitely blowing right through my front door. So if anyone comes up to my shop at the moment, the door is actually closed because of the wind, not for any other reason.
Now, I was talking with you yesterday, and I asked you to talk to me this morning because wintertime always brings beautiful fish.
It does, and there's a couple of different tricky things with winter fish, especially the tailor that are out there at the moment. Tailor are a great sport fish, and they fight really hard, but they're good fish to eat, but they don't freeze very well.
Actually, I read that on the internet.
That's right, yeah, so they don't, if you're going to catch them, don't go catching a big heap of them and try and freeze them, because when you defrost them, they will come out and be very, very mushy, and basically you have to throw them out.
You can't eat them.
You can't eat them after you froze them, but they are a great fish to eat fresh. And another good thing about tailor is they don't have scales. They have a skin instead of a scale. So all you do, you just wipe them over with the back of your knife just to take the slime off them, and you can actually cook the skin up.
So that's interesting, isn't it, that they don't freeze?
Yes, yeah, it is. And a lot of people make that mistake. They go and pile the freezer full of fillets and find when they defrost them they can't use them.
But you know, we had someone deliver fish to our place, and we had some beautiful fresh tailor, and I froze some.
Oh, yeah, look.
I might have to make a fish pie.
A fish pie would be good, yes. Because you still you'll get the flavour, but you just won't get the texture when you cook them.
I'll have to make a fish cottage pie or something like that.
They smoke very well. If you like smoked fish, tailor fillets will smoke up very well, and they do salt down too. So. Great for storing fish and things like that, but not the best for recipes when you do that sort of thing, because it does put a lot of salt into the recipe. So
is it because the flesh is so dark, or?
I'm not 100% sure on the technicalities of why they don't freeze very well. I know it is a very fine flesh, like some flesh is really coarse.
Yep.
And those sort of fish, they freeze up nicely. But yeah, tailor are a very fine flesh fish, so that could be the reason. I'm not 100% sure on the technicalities of it.
I'll tell you what does freeze well is whiting. And when I was over at Bribie a few weeks ago, I bought a kilo and just packaged them up in little bags because it's so nice. You can just take them out and they defrost so quickly, and they are just delicious. They are a very tasty fish. And the winter whiting, a lot of people may not realise this, have no size limit. Oh.
So that's why you'll find this time of year, a lot of the whiting fillets that you buy in the shops, if you buy your fish instead of catching it, are very small. And that's because the winter whiting, you can have you've got a bag limit of 50 fish, sorry. But yeah, so basically, you can keep whatever size you want. That's as long as it's you know the difference between a winter whiting and a summer whiting, of course, because summer whiting are a different fish and they do have a size limit.
I tell you what, if I caught 50 fish, I'd be jumping around like a lunatic. I'm not a very good fisherman.
Yeah, I'm not a big whiting fisherman because to me, I like that they taste really yummy, and I'd rather go and buy them than actually catch especially winter whiting. I'm a big fish person. I like to go out and target one big fish instead of 50 small fish.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I'd rather go out and catch a big flathead instead of, go out and chase the whiting.
So you said snapper around too at the moment?
There are snapper there, yes. The only drawback we got with the snapper is the conditions to catch them are terrible at the moment. So we keep getting these westerly winds, and most of the snapper are against the Bribie bank of the passage. And the westerly wind will actually be pushing you right in the face. So it's really uncomfortable to catch them. But yes, they are around, and they are of good size. Winter is the snapper season here in Queensland. Whereas then, if you go to Victoria, it's actually a summer fish down in Victoria. So they move up the coast during winter.
So can I just digress a little bit? Just back to whiting. What's the difference between summer and winter whiting?
Totally different species. The winter whiting are called trumpeter whiting or diver whiting. There's a couple of different names, and they don't grow to the big sizes that the summer whiting do.
Oh, okay.
So it is a completely different species. The golden-lined whiting or yellow-fin whiting, and they also call them sand whiting. A couple of different species in amongst them, but they've all got a 23 centimetre size limit.
Okay. Now, flathead, are they around at the moment?
We're lucky here. We don't actually have a season for flathead. We have flathead all year round.
Oh, okay.
The fish do vary in size. There is a breeding season for flathead, and the bigger females come in. You don't want to catch them anyway because you can't keep them.
No, that's right.
Because breeding. Again, a lot of people don't realise there is actually a maximum size limit on flathead.
Oh.
There's a minimum and a maximum. The maximum size limit is 75 centimetres. So if you catch a fish over 75 centimetres, it is actually illegal to keep it.
But I'll tell you what, if you got a 75, wouldn't you be a happy chap?
Oh, definitely. They're a great photo opportunity, and I have actually seen a flathead at 1.2 metres.
Wow.
It was a beast of a flathead. It was down in Victoria. It wasn't up here, unfortunately. But yes, it was a 1.2. It was something like 16 kilos.
That's
so
incredible.
A monster fish, very big, fat fish. But we regularly get them over a metre here in the passage during breeding season.
Now, when you were talking about snapper, I mean, it's a beautiful fish. How do you cook snapper?
Okay, because I'm from Victoria. Victoria, they have very, very bland fish down there. There's not a lot of flavour in them. But when I come up here, I find that the fish up here have got so much better flavour. So I cook my fish very simply. If you want to add flavour to what you've got with the fish and leave the fish alone. My favourite recipe is to just cook the fish just a little bit of a touch of salt and maybe a little bit of butter, but put all the flavours into the potato or something like that. My favourite one is a little bit of onion. Fry up a little bit of onion, put a little bit of spring onion mixed in with mashed potato, and just have the fish on top, the plain fish on top.
See, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think that's what I love about whiting, is just that absolutely beautiful, fresh taste. And
exactly.
I always love whiting just as it is, with nothing else, because it is just so delicious.
And that's right, yeah. And most of the fish up here in Queensland are. If you catch a fish that's not a very good eating fish, put it back and catch it. Wait for the next one, because the next one will be. So yeah, we've got so much variety up here. You may as well just put the bad ones back and go for the better ones.
Prior to talking to you, I had a guy, Steve from Grumpy's Ginger Beer on, and he has ginger beer with chili. And I was saying before that when we were talking about it, I kept thinking of this beautiful batter that you could do with a ginger beer with chili in it. And I mean, let's face it, sometimes it is nice to do a battered fish.
That's right, yeah. And another thing, being a Victorian, one of the things that I don't tend to see up here is when I have a battered fish, I like to have my battered fish grilled.
Oh, yes, I have seen that, yeah.
So you put the fish in the batter, instead of putting it in the deep fryer, you actually put it on the flat grill and then and cook it that way. It makes it a lot softer, or more moist, doesn't dry the fish out, and it's a lot better. So if anyone's got to do that, you'll enjoy your fish a little bit better.
I have actually seen that, but I haven't actually done that. That's a good idea.
It does, yeah. It just doesn't dry anything out. So yeah, and also it keeps the flavour in the fish too. It doesn't. You don't get the really strong taste of oil through your fish.
That's fantastic. I think that a lot of people, I was saying before, that a lot of people forget about the abundance that we have in that passage and out in the bay.
That's right, yeah. And the good thing is it's also good to bring kids down. There's lots of small fish out there that are bread and butter species to cut the kids' teeth on fishing. And once you get into fishing, it's one of those things that you can do, and it doesn't cost you a lot of money to do.
That's the nice thing about it, is to take your sandwich with you and sit on the side of the creek or the whatever and just enjoy it.
That's right, yeah. And I was like, the initial setup might cost you a little bit to get your rod and reel and your tackle, but once you've got that set up, what's it cost you? $5 for a bag of bait, or a couple of dollars for a couple of lures, and you're right to go.
And it is holiday time.
It is holiday. And the weather is getting better. I promise the weather will get better.
But towards the end of the week, maybe.
Exactly. And from basically today on, this rain is just about done. So we might get a little bit more this afternoon, but Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there is no wind. Or actually, sorry, I shouldn't say Wednesday because it's dropping down. But Thursday, Friday, Saturday, no wind. So if anyone has a boat and wants to get out, they're the days to do it.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much, Nigel, for joining us this morning.
No worries at all.
Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
And we've been talking to Nigel from Gateway Boat and Tackle. And interesting, isn't it, the abundance that we have, and what a good idea. As Nigel said, it's a very cheap way to have a family outing. You're going to eat lunch at home, put it in an esky, take it with you, put the kids in the car. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they're the days for fishing. Go to a song, we'll be back shortly. And welcome back. It's interesting when you have a little look about your recipe books and on the quiet. It's one of my little addictions, I think. I have one of these collections of books that you can't seem to stop. But I still go into my library and have a little book and have a look at what's going on in there and what books they have, and books that you can't afford that you really love to have a little read of. And looking the other day at some of the older fashioned books, and they have a lot of stews and casseroles, and it used to be something that people used to do quite a lot. Interesting now when you talk to people, different people, and they say, "Oh, I just never make a casserole. I never make a stew." And you think of this type of weather, and you think how perfect it is when there's so many different varieties of goodies that you can put into a casserole. And I think one of the things that, when you talk to a lot of mums, children don't like things that are messy, apparently. They like to know what their tastes are. And just thinking of that, I was thinking the other day that, when you get to chicken drumsticks sometimes and you see them in a bit of a bag and they've got a fair few of them, nothing nicer for children to be able to enjoy the chicken drumstick, but at the same time you've got some leftovers. And at the moment for school holidays, children seem to visit the fridge and the pantry every few hours or few half hours when they're at home, because they get a little bit bored sometimes, I guess, and they just want something to eat. So I thought, have a little look. Most people now have internet, or they've got phones, or they can do things. If you just put in their drumsticks and just have a little look at some of the choices, economical, yummy, and you get some leftovers for the next day. So it's worthwhile having a look at those things, because school holidays, of course, if you go out for lunch, it can be so expensive. And as I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, when they talk about the fact that the average person spends so much per week on their groceries, and then the amount of food they spend on takeaways, which is just astounding to me, just how expensive your takeaways are. There's no reason why you can't make those little treats yourself. Pack a picnic, take it with you, because you will find the amount of money you save is astounding. I think it's incredible. And when we talked to someone from one of the dietitians one day, she was saying that to pack your lunch for work saves one person $2,500. Imagine if you were doing that all the time and you were buying your lunch and you had quite a few people. That's a considerable amount of money that you can actually put into your pantry and into your freezer and stock up with some really good foods. Just food for thought. I think it's worthwhile looking at all those different things. It was interesting talking to Grumpy's Ginger Beer. It did bring back some memories of those old tastes. Starting to age myself here, but my mum used to make ginger beer. A lot of people, and as Steve was saying, so many people have the memories of the ginger beer blowing up in the plant, that you used to exchange or give to people. You'd every day you had to split the plant, so of course you were able to keep some for yourself and give some to the neighbours so they could make their own ginger beer. And it did bring back some nice memories, but starting to think about all those different tastes that we're going to be enjoying very shortly in the Food for Thought tent. I'll look forward to trying Grumpy's ginger beer, and especially with the chili. I think that's quite interesting. And of course Nigel, thank you Nigel for joining us this morning. He does a little update on 101.5 regularly. And that's why I thought it would be a good thing to talk to Nigel, because he knows what's out there. He knows the best time and the best fishing tips. I think that's fantastic. Thanks for joining me this morning. We'll be back next week. And, of course, we're going to be talking to more people who are going to be joining us in the Food for Thought tent, and, of course, keeping our regular information about Community Kitchen happening at 101.5. Thanks for listening.